Yep. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thursday, May 4th. John Aravosis here. Was just checking my microphone. How's everybody doing? This is the Aravosis Report. Welcome. This is my nightly show where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. As always, I'm going to get TikTok rolling here on my iPad, and then we're going to wait 3 minutes for folks to arrive because it takes a little bit of time for everybody to get the notification and to show up. So we will do that. Let me flip my camera. TikTok is being weird today. What a surprise. What a surprise. Hang on here. All right, just turning off weird filters and things. Anyway, hello all. Woo! Anyway, here, we'll get that adjusted. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway, hey guys. So as I said, we'll wait another 2 minutes maybe, and then I'll jump right in here. And then we're going to talk about the drone, lots of other stuff. And that's an interesting idea. That's a good idea, actually. Yeah, if any of the mods want to set up, since I don't love the polls, but this one's interesting, set up a poll on TikTok asking who was behind the drone attack on Moscow. And I think just give two options, the Russians or the Ukrainians, and maybe set it for, I don't know, 20 minutes, something like that, if you want to. And as I said, we'll wait another minute or so for folks to arrive, and then we will start the show. You can't poll on TikTok, but the YouTubers should be able to. I mean, TikTokers should be able to. You used to do it on TikTok. Nope. Can you TikTok's not set up a poll? Should I try to set it up then? Oops, where are my glasses here? Nope. It says it's buffering on TikTok. It's being evil. Well, let me actually, that's another thing, Roshan or anybody else who can check out TikTok. It says it's buffering. People are saying it's buffering a lot. All right, it is buffering. And the sound's being evil. That's not good. Let me Oh, you know what? The sound is because I don't have my microphone on. That might help. If it's buffering, I'm going to exit and come back on TikTok. Hang on here. And now, all right, sorry guys, you all. We have our technical difficulties. All right, live. Let's start again. Drone aftermath. Okay. As I said, give it a minute here. You know how this is. All right. Let's see how TikTok does now. Hopefully that's enough. You never know with these things. Banjacks? I don't even know what that's got to be an Irish expression. All right. We're starting TikTok again. See if it's working now. Let's see. Anyway, rest of you, you know how this goes. Technology. So we'll wait a minute, see if it's working here. All right, TikTokers, any better? Hello, TikTok. Is it better now on TikTok? Or no? Yep. Okay, good. So me leaving and coming back seems to have done it. No, everybody's saying it's working. Right. I don't know what, Mario, I don't know what that means. Is the microphone working or not? How's the sound on TikTok? Is that being okay? And on YouTube? Okay, good. All right. All right. All right. Let's wait another minute then, since we had to hang up and come back and stuff, at least for the TikTokers. The rest of you are arriving, but let's wait one more minute and then we'll start. Okay. Drinking too much of my water to start the show. I shouldn't be drinking that much. Ooh la la. Anyway. So how folks doing? It's the weather's finally nice here in Chicago. Finally. Oh, it's great though. It's going to be like 70s and 80s now for the next week or two. So I've got to put on, it's basically, for those of you abroad, it's shorts weather now, which is wild. I mean, it was great, but the nights are still cool, but the days are definitely walk the dog in shorts weather. So I'm very happy about that. I'm very glad I brought my shorts with. Anyway. All right. I'll get rolling here. All right, welcome, guys. I'm John Aravosis. Welcome to the Aravosis Report. This is my nightly show where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. I do beam sort of multiple places. So on my laptop computer over here, I've got TikTok, I've got YouTube and Twitch and LinkedIn and Twitter and all sorts of others, Facebook. And for you guys over here on TikTok, I've got you on my iPad. So that is why you will see me looking over here and looking over here and looking over here, back and forth and back and forth. So, I don't remember. So mods, we were having those issues. Mods on TikTok are used to be able to set up polls because we thought it'd be interesting to set up a poll maybe for 20 minutes to have folks vote whether you think the drone attack on Moscow was done by the Ukrainians or by the Russians themselves. Stephen Hall, thank you for the whale. Thank you. We'll do the way for the whale. That was very nice for you to start off. Anyway, TikTok mods, no polling option. All right, let me try to set up a poll really quick on TikTok. Let me see. TikTok, why do you keep changing things? Why do you keep changing things? Interact, would that be a poll? Text poll? Quick poll? Oh, text poll. All right, here we go. Thank you for the stuff there. Hang on a second, guys. Here we go. All right. Who did drone attack on Moscow? So I'm writing this quickly. We'll do a poll here. Options. Russians. B. Ukrainians. Boom. All right. Let's give it, we'll give it 30 minutes. Why not? Give people something to do. Who did drone attack on Moscow? Russians, Ukrainians. Okay. Who was really behind drone attack on Moscow? There we go. All right. Start. We couldn't start the poll when a comment is pinned. Okay, moderators, who's messing with me? All right, let's try. You got to unpin that comment, mods. It's not letting me start the poll. The TikTok mods, they are quite the piece of. It's not going to let me. You can only start a poll when the existing one ends. Okay, so I don't know what's going on. All right, either someone started a poll, or my poll started on its own. There was a poll here already. Okay, what's the poll about? I'm about to quit this. So, okay. All right, that's fine. Whatever. All right. All right, let's move on. So anyway, welcome guys. John Aravosis. So the way the show works is the first half of the show, I talk about the news. Okay, I see. Poll ended. All right, guys. All right. All right. Stop messing with the polls. Let me just start mine here. All right, there we go. Okay, now we're good. Now the poll will sit there. There we go. All right. Yay, we're back. Okay, so the way the show works, if anybody's new, first half of the show, I will talk about the news, walk you guys through it. Second half of the show, I'll take your guys' questions. There's a good amount of news today. Let's see how quickly we get through it. The way it works for questions is on TikTok. Please go to my profile and my TikTok profile, look for the Q&A link and click the Q&A, put the questions there. The rest of you obviously can use the comment box at the bottom of the screen. I very much appreciate the super chat questions and super stickers on TikTok, on YouTube, the gifts on TikTok, because I do this for free and your guys' gifts are actually my income. So you make it possible for me to do this. So thank you very much for keeping them coming. I do this full time. I do it for free. So thank you all. Twitch can do polls too. That's great, but I can't access Twitch while I am live to it. So if any of the mods want to put up a poll on Twitch, if they're able to, feel free. Thank you, Noel, for the headphones. All right, guys, let me get rolling here. So it's day 434 of Vladimir Putin's 10-day special military operation. Roshin wants to see the map really quick. She bought a super chat question, so she gets to see the map. Woo-woo! Oops, my map's getting a little bit of food on it, I think, sitting here at the table with me. Day 434 of Putin's 10-day military operation. Zelensky was in the Netherlands today. Thank you for the confetti there. Who's that, Jill? And he spoke at The Hague, among other places. Oh, we got some flapjacks too. Lee, thank you for that. And by the way the show works, people giving gifts, I try to thank people when they give the gifts. Thank you, Nolanis, for that, because your gifts, like I said, help support my work and keep me going, and it's only polite. And frankly, I need your gifts to keep going, but also it's only polite. So when I see the gifts, I will thank them. So, don't get too upset if you hear me stopping my show to thank people. So anyway, let's keep going. Zelensky was in the Netherlands today. He visited the International Criminal Court. The big topic, of course, again today, I've got a lot of other news too, but the big topic is this crazy drone thing with Moscow. As you guys recall, someone, and I will say a lot of people really do think Russia did this to themselves, that it was basically a trick. But someone flew 2 drones over Moscow. One crash landed on top of a dome, caught on fire, but didn't do any damage. And the other one exploded in midair. All caught on beautiful high definition video that the Russians just happened to tape from 3 different directions. Gorgeous panorama of Moscow with the drone. I mean, literally, it might have been, thank you, Andy, for the hat. It might have been just a coincidence that the Russians were able to get fabulous footage of the drone. Again, high quality, beautiful panorama, but who knows? In any case, so the Russians claim it was Ukraine. They claim the Ukrainians, it was a terrorist attack and an assassination attempt on Vladimir Putin. It was a drone. It was a little drone flying through the air. One of them crash landed and the other one blew up midair. It wasn't exactly, it was not a terrorist attack. So the question remains as to who did it. Thank you, Lori, for the gift there, and Lisa as well. What am I thinking? I'm sure I'm thinking here. Thank you, Kanowski, for that too. What was I going to say here? The initial response, obviously, Russia, whether or not Russia did it to themselves, clearly it's to Putin's benefit to take advantage of it. And we know that. And he is taking advantage of it. He's going nuts on, as I said, they're claiming it's a terrorist act. They were trying to kill poor Putin, assassination, but. And the reason they're doing this is because they're basically trying to get the Russian people in line. Thank you, Tom Clark, for the star. Trying to convince the Russian people that there's an existential threat facing Russia, meaning a threat to our very existence. Look, the Ukrainians tried to assassinate dear leader, right? In Moscow with drones. So trying to basically scare people so that they're more obeisant, I like that word, obeying the government more, obeying Putin more, but also if and when it comes time for him to start having another draft or a bigger draft, the Russian people will be more on his side. Thank you, Bonnie. The conventional wisdom right now is that Putin is afraid of having a real draft because he saw what happened last year when, up to 1 million Russian men fled the country to get away from the draft he was having back then. So a nationwide one, they're actually afraid of having some kind of, civil disturbances, whatever. Having this drone attack, again, this assassination attempt on Vladimir Putin is a way of it's BS, of course, but it's a way of getting the Russian people to be more patriotic and concerned, so they're willing to accept, right, a military draft, etc. So Russia attacked Kiev again today. Big surprise. Another wave of drones. Ukrainian air defenses say they downed 18 of the 24 drones. There was a Ukrainian drone that the Ukrainians themselves shot down over Kiev today. There was some confusion about that, but basically what the Ukrainians now say is one of their drones, lost control or whatever it is. So they shot it down out of the sky to be safe. And it was, people also identified the drone. It was a Bayraktar TB2. The OSINT guys were able to sort of tell by looking at it. Back to the Kremlin drone. So the U.S. responded, actually the Kremlin, the Putin and company, put out a statement today trying to up the ante on this drone thing, now claiming the Americans were responsible. The Americans ordered Vladimir Putin to do it. And because he's our puppet, he went ahead and did it. But we were the ones that planned the drone attack on the Pentagon. The White House responded, actually, I liked what they responded. They called it ridiculous. But John Kirby, who's the admiral, who is the spokesperson for the National Security Council at the White House, first responded and he said, I've got a word of what I would like to call it, but I probably shouldn't do that on nationwide TV from the White House. Basically meaning he was gonna say BS, the word, but he didn't want to say it, of course, but called it ridiculous. Most commentators, most people I respect, put it this way, people I respect, thank you, Charles, for the paper crane. People I respect, I'd say there maybe 80% think Russia did this to themselves, basically that it's a trick by Putin, right? Putin stages an attack on Moscow to, oh my God, right? So he can rally the people, so he can justify possibly having a military draft. And maybe he is wanting to do something. Maybe he wants to take out Zelensky and he thinks this is going to somehow give him permission to take out Zelensky. No, he's not going to attack the White House, Jens, because that would be the end of the world and certainly the end of Russia. Yeah, he's definitely not going after the White House. But there, most of the commentators, interestingly enough, think that that the Russians, this is a fake. The Russians did it to themselves. Now, some people, I wouldn't say I'm in the middle. I'm probably more, thank you, Grace, for the gift there. I'm probably more 60-40, 70-30. meaning 60 to 70% of me thinks the Russians did it. 30% thinks maybe the Ukrainians did it. I could see the Ukrainian. I mean, first of all, it takes the kind of chutzpah that I could see the Ukrainians doing. Let's face it. I mean, launching an attack on Moscow on Red Square. I mean, that's a pure Ukrainian ballsy kind of move to do, right? Knowing the Ukrainians like we do. That kind of in your face, we can take it to your home, that kind of stuff, right? And there's psychological reasons for doing it in terms of sort of psychological warfare against the Russians. It does freak them out. It does set them on edge. It does set the Russian, it sends a message to the Russian people that guess what? You're 300 miles away from this war. Guess what? It affects you too, right? So, and it frankly makes the Russians spend equipment, manpower, weapons. Rather than just focusing on Ukraine, if this were Ukraine that attacked Moscow, rather than just focusing on Ukraine, thank you, Cheryl, for the confetti, it makes the Russians now spend some time and energy focusing on the more defenses for Moscow when they could be focusing on Ukraine. So it's good to distract them and make them split their time up a little more, right? That's not bad. Now, interesting, Brave Cobra saying, what do the Russians themselves think? Who knows? I mean, I don't know. That'd be an interesting question now to see. Now, first of all, I doubt the Russians are getting good information. I will also say this, we don't know, right? I mean, so I don't know that the Russians would have any different opinion than we do, which is could be the Ukrainians. I mean, I think if you're Russian, actually not just Russian, for all of us, part of the reason many of us are doubtful about this story is, first of all, lots of air defenses around Moscow, and the Russians put even more in the last year because of the war. It's very hard to believe that the Ukrainians were able to get through the air defenses around Moscow and get 2 drones, not just one, but 2 drones into Red Square. And by the way, let's pretend this was Ukrainians. They didn't have any more because the Russians would have told us. If it was 10 drones, the Russians would have said, it was 10 drones, but we shot down 8 of them, right, to brag about it, and only 2 got through, No, it was only 2 drones. So the Ukrainians only shot 2 drones. Thank you, Happy Beach. It was TikTok Novice. Thank you for that, for the ice cream cones. They only had 2 drones. Both drones were able to get through the Russian air defenses, right? So both drones were able to get all the way to Red Square. Both drones were filmed in beautiful Technicolor, high definition, just happened to have somebody filming with high definition video. Oh, hello, dog. What you doing? With high definition video at 2:36 in the morning, right? A little weird. And then the Russians sat on it. That was the other weird thing. We got many gifts here. Happy Beach for the coral. TikTok, I got you for the ice cream cone. Hang on here. Charles with the love you. Dak with the paper crane. Thank you, guys. But the Russians sat on it for like 13 hours too. This happened 2:36 in the morning. The Russians came out and put out a nasty statement at 3:30 in the afternoon, which was a little weird, right? Like why they waited this long. And I was reading, I think this was from Institute for the Study of War today. I'm going to quote them a little more later, but a big defense think tank in Washington, D.C., very well respected. Thank you, Eva, and who's that, Marina as well. But what they said was the Russian response to this was way too professional and neat and coordinated. That basically, typically when Russia is surprised by something. So in other words, if this drone attack was real, Russia didn't expect it. It was a shock with 2 drones flying, because otherwise they would have shot, if it was real, they would have shut it down if they saw it earlier, right? So, oh my God, I mean, imagine in America, like there are 2 drones descending on the White House. Where are they coming from? They're Russian, blah, 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 right? It would be kind of wild. So typically when this kind of thing happens, the Russians' response is all over the place. It's chaotic. Thank you, Ellie, for the hearts there. It's chaotic. Whereas this time, everything was perfectly organized, all the messaging, everything. And ISW said that they think that's one more factor that makes it look like this was prepared by the Russians in advance, that they had the whole thing ready to go because they were the ones behind it. A little more here. Let me see here. Deep. ISW. I want to see a little bit more from ISW on why they thought it was staged, too organized, and it's in the other thing is right. It's in proximity to the Victory Day celebrations on May 9th. May 9th is the big the big celebration they have in Moscow. Thank you, Jamie. I did see your comment. I was laughing. Thank you, Jamie. May 9th is the big celebration in Moscow with the big nuclear weapons and tanks and all, and airplanes in the sky and this kind of stuff, when the Russians basically bragged that they single-handedly defeated the Nazis in World War II without any of their help. And of course, we all helped. And the Russians were the Nazis' allies for 2 years, but they don't tell you that. Nonetheless, the timing is perfect because it's only 5 days away now. The timing was perfect for this, for Putin to be able to, first of all, tie it to the nationalism, right? The patriotism of that day. Second of all, the Russians have been canceling a lot of their 21 Russian cities have canceled their celebrations for the May 9th, Victory Day. Now, they claim they're canceling it for security reasons. What the experts think is the Russians are canceling it because typically on that day, at least as of, I think, 2011 or so, this began, the Russians would hold an immortal regiment march, they called it. And basically, kind of not a bad idea, I guess. A little creepy, but not bad. I'm mixed on this. They would carry pictures of their loved ones who died in war. Not a terrible idea. A little morbid, but maybe not, right? It could be nice. But Putin is afraid that if they hold these marches, people are going to be marching with so many pictures of dead loved ones from Ukraine that it's going to basically finally sort of not just personalize this, make this concrete for people so that they see how many faces of the dead there are and they realize, oh my God, in dozens of cities across Russia, there are hundreds or thousands of pictures of dead troops. That's bad. So that's the other thinking is that Putin wanted a reason to kill this May 9th day. And part of what he's doing is with the drone attack is he's doing it. Let me do a quick pitch for my Discord, and then we have lots more news. So my Discord, you guys know, I used to pitch Patreon. We don't pitch them anymore. Patreon is Patreon's in the doghouse. Patreon got mean with me because I am doing stuff about Ukraine. And as a result, at their request, I disconnected my Patreon link to my Discord and my Patreon link to my TikTok because they asked me to, which I thought was incredibly rude of them because I worked with Patreon for years. And in any case, so I've still got my account going there, but I'm not really sending people there, even though it's easy to use. I would ask you guys to go to Discord instead. It's discord.aravosis.com. You can find the link in my profile on TikTok. Just go to the Linktree link in my profile on TikTok. Everything's there, Discord, etc. For you guys, you actually have the Discord link at the bottom of the screen. With the tiny URL, or just go to aravosis.com. But what, two things. One, I do this for free. As I said, I do it full time. So I always have to make a little pitch for the money because this is my job, right? You guys pay my bills in essence by supporting me with this work, which I really very much appreciate. One of the ways I do that with the Discord or the Patreon was you can sign up for a monthly subscription. And on Discord, it works the same way. A little harder to set up, but it works the same way. You sign up with a monthly subscription. You can pay a certain amount a month, and it helps support me. They don't take too much. They actually take a little bit less than Patreon, which is nice. And it's a nice way for creators like me to actually see how much money's coming in each month and to hopefully get a little bit of a regular income so we're not always having to beg during every show for income. So if you could go to Discord, I try to get at least maybe 2 new subscriptions a day. If you guys could, I would appreciate it. The other thing is, and this is the fun stuff, I just put up 8 new auctions over on Discord. We've got an auction area, 2 of them actually. One is for everybody. My Discord's free to everybody, but I've also got a paying section because, as I said, I ask you guys to come and consider becoming subscribers. For the paid subscribers on Discord, also the Twitch subscribers, I've got you linked in as well. It's connected. Thank you. Who's it? Timothy Leary for the sail away. I've got the Twitch folks connected too. If you are a paid subscriber, you have access to my VIP auctions, which is a special auction site. You have access to our Saturday morning show. I do a Saturday morning show. I'm doing it this Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you, Nancy, for the Galaxy, where I just get together and talk to the paid TikTok subscribers and the paid Discord subscribers. Saturday at 11 a.m. We hang out. Vlad usually checks in from Ukraine. It's fun. But the auctions are really cool. We've got 8 auction items, everything from Ukraine. Half of the money goes back to Ukraine. I take half of it for myself to finance my work because, as I said, I do this full time. And the other half goes back to Ukraine. We've lately been doing things. SB wants the map. Okay, SB, you get the map. Thank you for that. We've lately been doing things such as helping build camouflage nets for the Ukrainian troops. Actually, let me show you really quick. Vlad sent me a picture today of one of the camouflage nets that the auction money from our Discord helped buy. And I think this is the kind of stuff that Patreon didn't like. And you know what, Patreon? If you can't understand why the war in Ukraine matters and why it is something different, then, forget it. So check this out. This is Vlad sent it to me. He said, I can show you. It's one of our nets actually being used by one of the Ukrainian vehicles. Isn't that cool? So we paid with our auction revenues, we paid for everything in that net. And then the volunteers came together and stitched it. Isn't that cool? I think it's very cool. I love being able to do it's small stuff, but I like this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm going to show you. I know I'm going long here with this, but it's cool stuff. So I'm not going to show you the one thing. We have cool stuff such as folk art made from our from shells, military shells, so to speak. I've got cool Christmas ornament, Ukrainian Christmas ornament. That's also a fridge magnet. Another fridge magnet. I love these because these are the tractor and tank, the tractor and the Ukrainian farmer pulling the tank. Fridge magnets that are really neat. And the other two, which are very cool, is a T-shirt, extra large, but it's a T-shirt of the Russian warship Go. I'm not going to demonstrate, but you get it. Go F yourself T-shirt. So it shows the Ukrainian soldier who's flipping off the Moskva, the Russian warship Go F yourself ship, which is neat. And the final one is we put up another of our Azov-style steel bracelets, which are the most popular thing that we've ever auctioned off. These, the Ukrainian government made from the last batch of steel in Azov-style in Mariupol. Mariupol, you'll recall, is the city where 2,000 Ukrainian troops from the Azov battalion fought off 14,000 Russians for like 2 months. And to honor them, the Ukrainian government made these bracelets, and they don't make them anymore. But was able to get a number of them, so we're auctioning those off. Paid a pretty penny for them, but nonetheless, it's worth it. All right, let me go back to the news. So it's discord.aravosis.com. Please, just 2 of you to sign up a day is all I ask. So please check it out if you would. All right. Russian authorities, as I said, have canceled the May 9th festivities. This was interesting. So this was a story I wanted to talk about a little bit. Avril Haines is I'm sorry, let me get Josh really quick with Josh's question. Do you think many that fled Russia will return now that they have access to accurate info and see what their country is doing to Ukraine? The thing is, if you fled, I'm not sure the info makes them. Oh, I see what you mean. You're agreeing. I was going to say, once you get the info, you may not want to go back, is the question. Thank you, David. David Ben Hayun. I was going to say David Ben Gurion. David Ben Hayun. Thank you for the crown. Russia lost between 500,000 and 1 million men who left, and who, when the draft was happening last fall, got their tails out of there. I think once you get abroad, you see how life is abroad, and it's not that bad. It's certainly better than it is in Russia, depending where you are, but generally speaking, it's better than Russia. The civil liberties in general are going to be much better than Russia, because Russia right now is quickly descending into dictatorship. That's bad. We knew, Daniel, how much the net cost. Daniel was asking about the net. I'd have to ask Vlad about that. We knew at one point, because when I was fundraising for the nets, we were able to tell you guys how many nets we were able to make or whatever. I know the actual, we got to ask Vlad. I'll have to ask Vlad. He's probably still awake, but I don't want to, well, here. Since we are a show about Ukraine, I'm assuming you guys will forgive me if I get on my handy dandy phone and text Vlad really quick. Hold on. In the middle of my show, and people are asking, how much does it cost to create one camouflage net? There we go. All right, let's see. He might still be awake. The problem is it's what is it, 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30 in Ukraine. So he shouldn't be awake, but he might be. Otherwise, I can get back to you guys tomorrow. But I forgot how much it is. Yeah. I want to say 300. There's something like 300 in my head, but I remember him saying something like that. Actually, he may have told us during one of the weekend shows maybe why I'm thinking 300 when he came on, because Vlad, typically our weekend show we do for the paid subscribers, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Vlad typically joins us for that. And I know we talk about the nets a lot and other stuff. In any case, Avril Haines. So this is very interesting. So the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, who would be our top intelligence official in the U.S., testifies before Congress today and says a number of really interesting things. She said that our assessment is, first of all, that it is very unlikely that Putin will use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. The it looks like Putin will not be able to mount, I'm just going to read this to you from CNN. Putin will not be able to mount a significant offensive operation this year. Now, she used two different things. One, a significant offensive operation, and the other was a moderate, I believe, operation. So significant, meaning something with some real kick, rather than, you know, I don't know, a small group of Russian troops are fighting here or fight here, but she means something big, like trying to take some big towns, some big areas, things like this. Russia will not be able to mount a significant offensive operation this year due to munitions and manpower shortages. In other words, lack of firepower, lack of artillery, bullets, whatever, and lack of men. That's the first problem. Whether or not the Ukrainian counteroffensive is successful, that's interesting too. So even if the Ukrainians aren't successful, the Russians still won't be able to launch a significant counteroffensive. That's good news. She says, in fact, if Russia does not initiate a mandatory mobilization, meaning a mandatory draft, and secure substantial third-party ammunition supplies beyond existing deliveries from Iran and others, so meaning, A, if they don't mandate a nationwide draft, and if they don't figure out somewhere else to get weapons from because they're not getting enough from Iran, which is interesting that she says that, it will be increasingly challenging for Russia to sustain even modest offensive operations. That's great news. Because again, you're talking even anything that's Vlad's asleep. Even anything that isn't a big attack, the Russians will have a hard time doing. In other words, anything that really isn't digging in and just defending, the Russians will have a hard time doing. She went on to say that Putin will focus on consolidating control of the Ukrainian territory Russia currently occupies. That makes sense because if they don't have enough weapons and enough men to go on the attack, the smartest thing you can do is the only thing you can do is to dig in, as I was just saying, to kind of defend the area you've got and hope that by defending it, you won't need as many men, you won't need as many weapons, which is true. On the defense, you've got an advantage, and maybe they can hold the land against the Ukrainians. Per the New York Times, Putin, this is also quoting more from her, Putin remains unlikely to offer any substantial concessions to end the war and is instead hoping to buy time for Western resolve to wane. This is also from Avril Haines, who's the director of national intelligence for the United States, our top intelligence official. She says Putin may also show interest in a temporary ceasefire. We've talked about this idea before, the temporary ceasefires. I'm sorry, I'll take Josh is off there. Thanks again for that, Josh. With temporary ceasefire and claim at least a temporary victory based on roughly the territory he has occupied. But she added it would only provide a respite for Russian forces that they could use to try to regain strength before resuming offensive operations at some point. In other words, that is a long way of saying the reason the Ukrainians and we are not big fans of ceasefires in this battle is because currently, I'll show you on the map, currently Russia controls about 18% of Ukraine, 17% or 18%, all of this, okay? The problem with having a ceasefire is Russia is exhausted right now. The Ukrainians are exhausted too, but the Russians just finished their big counteroffensive. It was a disaster, right? They didn't really get any land. They got a little more Bakhmut back, one small town, but otherwise they haven't really gotten anything. And if you have a ceasefire, I like to compare it to a marathon, right? Wouldn't you love if you're in a marathon and you're not doing well and you're really exhausted and the other guy who's doing really well and you say, you know what? Let's take a break. Let's just stop the race for maybe half an hour, and just take a break and then we'll continue. It's fair because it's totally fair because both sides are stopping, right? Well, it's really not totally fair because if one side's doing pretty well and the other side is exhausted, it helps the other side catch up. And that's what the concern is that Putin would simply use a ceasefire. And what she's saying is he would use the ceasefire to rebuild his men, to rebuild his weapons, and then he would violate the ceasefire as soon as he was ready. So that it isn't like he would say, oh gosh, I agreed to a ceasefire, what do I do? He would actually violate that ceasefire and attack Ukraine again. So ceasefire is not getting you anywhere. I don't know if she had any more. She did not have any more. I was going to mention really quick, it's only because this is kind of a big story. I mean, I don't get into sort of every Russian attack, but the Russians really launched a horrific attack on the southern city of Kherson yesterday. Kherson is right over here. It's also a province. Remember, the provinces throughout Ukraine, the lead city in the province is the name of the province. So the lead city in Zaporizhzhia is Zaporizhzhia. The lead city in Kherson is Kherson, right? So the Ukrainians liberated the city of Kherson and this northern area of Kherson, north of the river or west of the river, depending how you look at it. The southern part, the Russians still control. Well, the Russians attacked the city of Kherson yesterday. Really, I believe artillery attacks, really bad, killed 23 people, wounded 46 others. They attacked a supermarket, a railway station, and residential buildings. There was horrific video from the supermarkets, that video and photos that was released. I mean, I saw it. I'm sure a lot of you did, of just, women and children and just people, again, sort of moms and their kids buying groceries, and the Russians just bombed them. But hey, somebody sent a drone that flew over Moscow, and Putin, crapped his pants. Like, oh, well. That was the real tragedy, was the drone that scared Putin, not blowing up women and children. Very good news. One of the biggest oil refineries in southern Russia was set fire in a drone attack overnight. According to Russian media, tanks with oil products caught fire near the Black Sea port of Novorossiysk in the Krasnodar region of Russia. I mean, more or less, I know it's more or less over here. I don't know exactly where it is, but I believe Krasnodar is over here. Now, what's interesting is this is the same region the Ukrainians were attacking yesterday, and I believe it's now the third attack on oil depots, oil refineries in the last few days. That's good because it means the Ukrainians are, I guess the question is whether they've started their counteroffensive or preparing for their counteroffensive, but the idea is they're trying to take out the Russian oil supplies, which are fuel for all the Russian vehicles, for the tanks, everything else, in preparation for then the big Ukrainian counteroffensive. So that's great. The Zaporizhzhia, yes, the Russians continue to militarize the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. The International Atomic Energy Agency, which is totally independent, part of the United Nations, said today that Russian troops have placed military equipment, weapons, and explosives in the turbine department of Unit 4 of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. So they were on the roof last week with guns. Now they're actually putting explosives in the freaking plants themselves. These guys are just a piece of work. The final story I wanted to mention, I don't have any more detail on this, but it's weird, and I thought it would be worth mentioning. Oh, this is funny. Is it 89? This is like a Russia poll. 89% think the Russians were behind the drone attack. 10% think the Ukrainians. That's like Putin election poll. 89%. Everybody loves him. That's funny. Wow. I mean, that's actually funny. 90%. Yeah. Like I said, that's almost where I am. I'm probably 70% of me thinks the Russians did it. 30% thinks maybe the Ukrainians did it. So this last story is really weird, but it's important. There was a lot of quotes today from the it was the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, because Zelensky was there visiting, talking about F-16 fighter jets, which are, U.S.-made fighter jets. Very good. Ukraine's been trying to get these fighter jets for a year now. The U.S. has been refusing. And the Netherlands leader kept talking about how he's working to get the planes, and he's working with the coalition and with other countries. And it was just a lot of quotes on how hard he's working on it. And I kept asking myself, what does that mean? Because in the end, the U.S. has to agree, because they're U.S. weapons. And the way every country works it is, if you sell weapons to somebody else, you still get to decide if they are allowed to give the weapons or sell them to a third party. Because the idea is, as the United States, or the U.S. or any country, we want to be able to control where our weapons go. So we don't want to sell our weapons, I always say, to Israel, and then have Israel say, well, I'm going to sell them to my best friend, blah, blah, right? So in order for the Netherlands or any other country to give their F-16s to Ukraine, or sell them or give them, they would have to get permission from the U.S. And so far, Biden has been terrible on this issue. So just keep an eye on this. I was very intrigued by why the leader of the Netherlands, is it a prime minister? I'm assuming it's a prime minister. Why the prime minister of the Netherlands was saying this today, because it sounded productive, right? It didn't sound like, I know it's a lost cause, but I'm going to keep pushing, right? It sounded like, oh yeah, we're moving ahead on, and I've been talking to a lot of countries. It was just it was weird in view of the U.S. position on this. So who knows? Hope we get around to it. So the final thing is, do check out our store. I've got a store where we've got a lot of Ukrainian themed stuff. And just like our auctions on Discord, half the proceeds from that go straight back to Ukraine. Thank you for the, who is that? Scott for the star there. And as of late, we've been using, it is a prime minister. Okay. Thank you, Cobra. As of late, we've been using most of the proceeds from our auction and from what was I saying? The store to build camouflage nets for the Ukrainian troops, because the military, these are actually by order from the military, and the military has contacted some charities and said, this is exactly what we need. These are the materials. And the charities set up volunteer centers, and we have been helping to actually buy the materials. So if you can help out with our store, it's store.aravosis.com. All of these links you can find at aravosis.com. You guys have it at the bottom of your screen. You guys can also just access all of these through my link on Patreon, my link in the Discord, in the hello English. You can access all of this through the URL in my TikTok profile. That's what I'm trying to say, TikTok. So sorry for that. All right. I have not checked anybody on LinkedIn, James. I will take a look at it. I will tell you, I typically don't accept requests from people I don't actually know on LinkedIn, because at Facebook at one point, I had done that. Sorry, but James was saying he had sent in a friend request or whatever on LinkedIn. Thank you for the cat, by the way. There, wait, who was that? The Marcy for the cat. And on Facebook at one point, when I was doing my blog, I accepted everybody, and I had like 5,000 people I didn't know. And back then, my entire feed on Facebook was all these people I didn't know, and I couldn't keep up with my friends. So I tend not to just accept people randomly, just so you know. So don't be offended. Thank you, Nancy, for the meteor shower. Just because it starts to get really confusing. And also with LinkedIn, I don't want to get into a whole LinkedIn theory, but my theory of LinkedIn is that you actually are connected to people you know, so that there's a little bit of a vouching for you thing, since people use it for jobs. And if I don't know people, I want to be careful about vouching for even my friends. I tell sometimes, like, if I don't know how you work, I can't vouch how you'd be as an employee. So sorry, I'm getting way too into my LinkedIn theory. All right. Thank you for the confetti there. All right, guys, let's dive in. So TikTok, I'll start with a TikTok question. Make sure to submit. Just looking here. Make sure to submit your questions via the Q&A link in TikTok. Obviously, you guys can submit them. There's actually, I'll pull up Malayethos, who was saying about Bakhmut. Ooh, cool flowers. Is that Flower Lady? Of course it is. Thank you for that. That is a cool one. Oh, and confetti. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to get my iPhone to open while I'm talking to you. Kathleen for the confetti. Thank you. Are we? Oh, is this? Oh, Kathleen's doing her multiple confettis again. Thank you. Hang on. TikTok, Q&A. All right. Couldn't the drone attack, sorry, who is this from? It's always nice to say. Anton. Thank you, pediatric nurse, for the superpower. Couldn't the drone attack be by Ukrainian rebels inside Moscow? Yes. It could be, yeah, that explains the small amount of drones and the avoidance of their air defense. I mean, it could be Ukrainian, it could be Ukrainians, like secret police, whatever the hell, right? Military special operations. It could be Russian, in the sense of it could be some Russian partisans, some Russians who side with the Ukrainians. We know, for example, in Belarus, that people have been like destroying train tracks and stuff to make it harder for the Russian troops to send their troops and their supplies closer to Ukraine, closer to the front. So it's also possible that there's a Russian resistance. I mean, we also know, for example, remember in Russia, we've seen those videos that showed people throwing Molotov cocktails, basically a bottle filled with gasoline, and you put a wick, like a t-shirt, in it. You light the t-shirt on fire, you throw the bottle, and when the bottle breaks open, the gas catches fire. And I'm not an expert on this, but apparently a very good way to commit arson if you want to do such things. And the Russians were doing it against recruitment centers, partially because I think they didn't want to go to the war, but some of them because they were against the government's war. So it's possible. I mean, the thing is, this was a buy. The problem is this was a, I don't know how big the drone was. On the camera, it looks like it's a decent sized drone though, because you actually can see the thing. It looks like it had explosives, and I don't know how hard it is to actually get explosives for drones. You know what I mean? Unless if you were like a local Russian sympathizer with Ukraine, right? I just don't know how easy that would be. But but it's entirely possible. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for the kite there. Malayathos was saying with Bakhmut, sorry to be the Bakhmut. Well, Bakhmut's okay. Bakhmut's important. Sorry to be the Bakhmut guy today, but do you know what general percentage of Bakhmut the Russians currently occupy? A lot. A lot. I forget how much, but it's a lot. I don't know the percentage. Any idea the odds Ukrainians stand their ground there this month? Sorry, I haven't really covered it recently. About a week ago, a lot of the experts were saying Bakhmut could be like in the toilet in 3 days, that the Russians would have it. Now, this was maybe a week and a half ago. Bakhmut, thank you, Louis, for the confetti. Bakhmut has been, about to be lost to the Russians for like 4 months now. So, I mean, the reports of Bakhmut's demise have been greatly exaggerated, as the expression goes. So, hard to say. I just saw that WC Fields is saying 90%. I was going to say 90, even 95% of Bakhmut, I think the Russians may control. What, again, is important about Bakhmut is, hang on, sip of water. The Ukrainians will tell you that Bakhmut matters in terms of, strategically. I don't think it does. Most of the military observers, I don't know any military observer in the West to think Bakhmut actually matters strategically. Meaning, and we'll show you on the map again, if the Russians get Bakhmut here, they'll have a much easier time of getting Kramatorsk here. No. The experts say, because I was reading and listening to a lot of this on TV, but because you've got to go uphill to get to Kramatorsk, there's only 2 main roads. You'd be in the open. It would just be like a disaster. You would want to attack from the south or from, I guess, the northeast or something from up north. You wouldn't want to attack from Bakhmut. Why Bakhmut matters is because Bakhmut has been a meat grinder for the Russian troops. As I was saying before, generally speaking, defenders have an advantage over people going on the attack. So when you're going on the attack, you're more exposed. It's more dangerous. You lose more troops. When you're defending, you need fewer troops and you lose fewer troops. So I think the estimate or the NATO number they use is like 3-1, that typically defending, you should lose 1 troop to every 3 troops that an attacker loses. Well, with Bakhmut, the Ukrainians are the defenders. So the Russians should be losing 3 troops for every 1 Ukrainian troop. In fact, the Russians have been losing 5 troops in other words, dying. 5 Russians dying for every 1 Ukrainian dying while the Russians are attacking. The Ukrainians say the number is even higher. It's like 7-1. So that's why the Ukrainians keep defending Bakhmut, because they think it's been, they've been right about this, that it's been a great opportunity for them to basically harm the Russian troops in the most, in the location that is least advantageous for the Russians. In other words, they got to fight the Russians somewhere. If you got to fight because if they give up Bakhmut, the Russians will then move the troops and start taking another city, right? So from a Ukrainian perspective, which is smart, if I got to fight the Russians somewhere, why not fight them in a town that is just a pain in the ass for them, that is so to my advantage that way more of them are going to die than me if we fight in this town. If we fight in the other town, it's going to be worse for me. But if I fight in this town, Bakhmut, boy, the Russians are screwed. So the Ukrainians were like, okay, you want to fight in Bakhmut? Let's do it. That's why it's been so important. Now, whether they're able to hang on to it, who knows? I don't know that it's kind of a bragging rights thing. If the Ukrainians were able to get Bakhmut back 100%, certainly there's some big bragging rights there in terms of morale. If the Russians were able to get it 100%, there'd be some bragging rights, but it's kind of silly because like I said, strategically, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, that's what's up with Bakhmut. So no, it's not. It doesn't hurt to ask. It's the big battle. It makes sense. Pull up more questions on TikTok here. All right, what we got here, guys? And we can try to do Discord tonight because we're on a good clip tonight. I'll go to Discord a little bit afterwards. Basically, we go and we hang out when the show doesn't go too long here with you guys. I go and I hang out on Discord, and we just kind of there's like an after party little section there that we go and I talk and we chat about stuff. It's kind of fun after the show, so feel free to check it out. Discord.aravosis.com. Boy, I don't know about that now. Andy's asking, is it easy for Russians to get visas for travel in and out of the country with the war and the current sanctions? Well, the thing is that I know there's been talk about Russians not being allowed in the EU. But then there was pushback and saying, the European Union doesn't let you ban people simply because of your nationality, right? So saying you can't just ban them because they're Russian. There was certainly a lot of restrictions put in place last year when the Russians were having their draft, basically the draft in the fall. Remember when 500,000 to 1 million men fled the country? So many men were fleeing the country that at one point, the surrounding countries were like, okay, this is enough. So there is that, but I don't know sort of what the current status is as far as how easy or hard it is. CF Gregory is saying Baltic states do not allow any Russians in with tourist visas. They can apply for refugee status. There you go. Now, what's important with the Baltic states, a couple things, including the fact that the Baltic states are right there with Russia. I mean, two of them are right there with Russia. Lithuania is right kind of there with Belarus, but same difference. And the Baltic states, so in other words, A, they're there and they've got to worry about refugees. B, they're there and they've got to worry about Russia. So if I was the Baltic states, I also am not sure I would want a ton of Russians coming in, like too many, because at some point, what are they sending them in for? Let me just see here. USSR lost over 90% of Stalingrad before the offensive trapped and started beating back the Nazis. Okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. No, it's the rush, again, I don't necessarily care about Bakhmut in the sense that I believe the experts in the West who say strategically it doesn't matter. So, but what I care more about is, well, like what Avril Haines was testifying, our director of national intelligence, was the overall state of the Russian forces. Thank you, Malcolm, for the hat there. The overall state of the Russian forces, the number of men, the condition of their men, the amount of equipment they've got, the amount of munitions, like firepower they've got, and to the degree that affects how the Russians are able to attack or not going into the future. So whether they're able to defend, whether they're able to hold on to Bakhmut, whether they're able to advance and take all of Bakhmut, or whether they start losing Bakhmut, I'm interested in it as an indication of the condition of the Russian military overall in Ukraine and what it says about how they're going to be doing across the board, right? So that's what interests me about that. Copies is weighing in too about Czech Republic denied tourist visas of Russians a few days after the invasion. You can't deny refugee visas, of course. Okay, interesting. Okay, there you go. All right. I did actually. Sorry, Alex, I see that. Alex is asking, did I see the video of the Ukrainian diplomat punching the Russian in the face at the Black Sea Economic Corp in Turkey? Yes. There's a video out there, you can Google it, of somebody holding up a Ukrainian flag or something, and a Russian diplomat runs in and grabs the flag like angrily and starts walking away, like waving the flag, but it's a Ukrainian flag in Turkey. And a Ukrainian diplomat sees him, this Alexander, I forget his last name, but a lot of people knew who he was, sees him, goes and grabs the Russian, gets the flag back from it, and starts just hitting on him. It's a wild video. And let's just say the Russian was very full of himself when he grabbed the flag. He was a little less full of himself when the diplomat was pounding on him. Typical sort of bully, acting like Mr. Tough Guy until he got caught. But yeah, middle of a press. Oh, was that what it was? A press conference? Okay. Yeah. I didn't know it was a press conference, but yeah, it was pretty wild. Correct. I mean, face muffins. These names crack me up. Face muffins is saying on Twitch, even if Russia wins Bakhmut, it's a loss for them in the long run. I mean, it's a loss for them because they just lost too many men. They lost too many weapons. It was stupid. Oh, Jill, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the rest of your name, but thank you for the headset. They lost too many men. It wasn't, I mean, not only was it not worth it, right? I mean, it wasn't worth it. So A, it wasn't worth it. B, the Russians have spent almost 11 months trying to get this town of Bakhmut. It's a population of 60,000 or so before the war. Now maybe it's 4,000 or 5,000. And again, strategically, it just doesn't matter. And they've lost so many lives. A lot of them were Wagner troops, which are the the mercenary group, but still they're Russians. They lost so many lives and wasted so much equipment going after it. So again, smart for the Ukrainians, but it's crazy, absolutely crazy. The Russians did that. What else we got here, guys? Oh, I forgot to mention too. When I didn't, I guess I mentioned it. Yeah. So Saturday morning for the Discord paid subscribers on Discord and the paid subscribers on TikTok, we are going to have my coffee talk, the hangout I do that you guys can access via the Discord. You guys can access via TikTok, but it's the paid subscribers and the paid subscribers on both. And it'll be 11 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday. We just hang out, shoot the bull. You can find it on Discord. You'll find it in the upper left column. Look for the thing that says weekly $5 and up, whatever. The other thing is then I'm also going to experiment Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to hold, we'll see if anybody shows up, a week in review show. And basically, because I wanted to start doing this to try to build up the Twitch community, if we can. I'm going to try and see. Twitch tends to be a gaming community, but, people were into this. They asked. So I took my other Twitch account, the Aravosis account that folks were using generally, turned that into an affiliate account, and I'm going to be having a weekly show that is the week in review. And I'm basically going to go through the news of the week, pull out the stories I think matter. It's kind of the same format, maybe half an hour of the news, the stories I think matter, and then your guys' questions, but it'll be exclusively on Twitch. So that's already set up on Twitch, I believe. I think it's set up, at least it's reserved 1 p.m. Eastern time US on Saturday. So go check that out. The account it's the Aravosis account. It's not the current account. The current account, the Aravosis Report Daily is daily. Aravosis is my weekly account. So go check that out, guys. Twitchers, mighty Twitchers. All right, guys, more questions. We'll do a couple more questions, and then we can thank you for the confetti. Carol, thank you for that. Let me look. Yeah, could the drone attacks be so Putin can cancel the May military celebrations? Absolutely. Or exclude civilians from coming? Yeah, it's both. He's worried about too many people showing up with placards showing their dead loved ones from Ukraine and having everybody go, oh my God, like this visual across the entire country. Yeah, no, I think he's very worried about it. So that's part of why people think he may have been behind the drone attack, because he wanted a reason to be able to cancel these celebrations, or whatever you want to call it, these commemorations. Beep, 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 beep. What will Russia respond to the drone attack be? Will they nuke Kiev? No, Alex, no. No. We actually went into this pretty extensively the other day. Russia will use, well, first of all, there isn't really an advantage in Russia using nukes. That's the first thing. There isn't much of a military advantage to it. So it's not like they get something out of it other than scaring the Ukrainians. So sure, they could drop a nuke on Kiev to try to teach a lesson to the Ukrainians. If they do that, the entire world is probably going to turn against them, including China and India, and probably maybe even South Africa. But basically everybody who matters is going to turn against them, who they've still got or still have kind of, like the Chinese. That's the first big problem for them. Second of all, I don't think, even though I think Biden is a little light on this, but I don't think NATO has a choice but to enter the war if Putin uses nukes. If Putin uses nukes, it's game over. I think, first of all, NATO clearly already has contingency plans. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because from a NATO perspective, first of all, he uses nukes in Kiev. They're right next door to Poland and Romania and Hungary and Slovakia, like a number of NATO countries. That's the first big problem. Second of all, NATO, not even NATO, the civilized countries cannot afford to let the message go out that in today's day and age, it's okay to use nukes, kind of like la la la, right? Because this is not the survival of Moscow. Like literally Russia's about to fall and the Russians use nukes. He's pissed because somebody flew a drone over Moscow. And frankly, it's probably he's the one who flew the drone and he's going to drop a nuke. So it would have to be, basically, the U.S. has already told him privately to be careful, that our response will be catastrophic, what we will do if he uses a nuke or biological or chemical weapons. I am hoping we have made that super clear, right? But that's no. So I really don't. They get no advantage of it, and I don't think we'd have a choice but to respond. I mean, literally, I think we enter the war at that point. And at the very least, we, along with the Ukrainians, take over all of free Ukraine and say that's it. The rest of Ukraine it's over. You're not touching the rest of Ukraine. And Ukraine gets the F-16s it wants. It gets the long-range missiles. At the very least, all of that would happen. That's bad. Anyway, yeah. So no, I would not. I'm not worried about it. I mean, I think he's not crazy. That's something. He's not crazy. They're nuts, but they're not crazy. Anyway. All right. What else we got, guys? Yeah, copies. That was yesterday. I mentioned that the Ukrainians were not happy because the Germans, it looks like they leaked the news that Zelensky is going to Germany at the end of the month. And they were not happy about that because, as we saw, Zelensky pops up in Finland. Nobody knew. Zelensky popped up in Netherlands. Nobody knew. Because the Russians do want to take him out, especially abroad. The Russians are famous for taking people out abroad. They've killed a lot of people in the UK. You don't want the Russians to know where he's going to be. And for them to say a month in advance where he's going to be gives the Russians a lot of time to plan something. So if you're Zelensky, but I mean, the problem is you need to win over Germany more because Germany matters. And especially now that Germany has been really helpful with the tanks and stuff. But I don't know. I think at this point, you almost don't have a choice but to reschedule the trip, because I think it's too dangerous at this point, but who knows? All right, guys, let me do a quick review of the news we covered, and then let's go over to the Discord because I think this is a pretty good show. We haven't gone too long tonight, but just long enough. And I like to go hang out at the Discord as well. And this way we've only been going for an hour, so I can do 15, 20 minutes of the Discord and then make some food because, again, we don't want me starving to death. I've got to make some rice, and you know how rice is. Rice takes 15 minutes just by itself. So, sorry, quick news in review, and then I will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time again. All right, day 434 of Putin's 10-day special military operation. Zelensky was in the Netherlands today and visited the International Criminal Court. Moscow unleashed another wave of drone strikes on Ukraine overnight, targeting Kiev and Odessa. Ukrainian air defense has said they downed 18 of 24 kamikaze drones. Ukraine shot down one of its own drones over Kiev because there was a little bit of issue there. With the whole Kremlin drone thing, the Russians are getting more and more ridiculous, claiming the U.S. was actually behind, the U.S. concocted the plan to attack the Kremlin. And basically they're playing Biden. Russia's trying to act like, oh my God, we're so crazy. We're so angry. Who knows what we would do? So that Biden is afraid to give Ukraine more weapons or better weapons. So that's what's going on. It's still going on. Institute for the Study of War says they think that Russia likely staged the attack with the drones in an attempt to bring the war home to a Russian domestic audience and set conditions for a wider social mobilization. Russian authorities have canceled May 9th celebrations in at least 21 cities. These are the World War II victory celebrations. Avril Haines, the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, says it is very unlikely in our current assessment that Putin will use nukes in Ukraine. She also said that Russia will likely not be able to mount a significant offensive operation this year because of weapons and manpower shortages. Russian shelling in and around the southern city of Kherson yesterday killed 23 people and wounded 46. A lot of attacks on civilians, supermarket, things like that. One of the biggest oil refineries in southern Russia was set aflame in a drone attack overnight. It's the second such incident in 2 days. Zaporizhzhia militarization continues. Russian troops have placed military equipment, weapons, and explosives in the turbine department of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. And the Netherlands says it is trying to get F-16s for Ukraine, but we don't quite know how they're doing that because the U.S. is not being very helpful in that regard. So who knows? All right, guys, let me get going because I'm going to go over to the Discord. So thank you for joining me. All the stuff I talk about on the show in terms of Patreon, well, not Patreon, I took Patreon off because they're evil now, but Discord and all that kind of stuff. You can find the links in my, thank you, Wanda, for the whale. Thank you, the new and improved whale. Thank you for that. You can find those links in my profile on TikTok, the Linktree link. You guys can find all my links in the aravosis.com at the bottom. Please do check out the Discord. Like I said, I try to, if I can get 2 new Discord subscribers, basically you're just subscribing to make a contribution every month. That's it. I mean, but if you want, you can go further and actually join in our, I mean, you'll be a member of our Discord, but you can actually come and show up. We've got cool auctions. We hang out and talk all day, usually about Ukraine, but other stuff too. And it's a fun community. I mean, and we do our auctions there, and we raise money to help the Ukrainians too, which is kind of neat. I am chatting with different platforms at once. Yes, Yidant. I've got a bunch. I've got TikTok on my iPad, but I've got a number of you guys over here. Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Most are on YouTube. Actually, I would say YouTube's always the lion's share. Yeah. Twitch is number 2, though. Twitch is always number 2, which is interesting. But then this weekend, as I said, my other Twitch account, the Aravosis account, I will be doing my weekend review 1 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern time, guys. So join me then. Otherwise, head on over to the Discord, discord.aravosis.com. And I mean, oh, wait. Okay, I'm waiting. You can actually find the Discord link in my profile. Just go to my profile, Linktree and TikTok, click it. Discord comes up, click through. You can become a paid subscriber. I wish you would, but you can also scroll down to the bottom and not pay if you have to. So it's very easy. All right. All right. I'm going to sign off, guys. Otherwise, you know, we'll keep helping you with Discord as the evenings go on, because I know it's not easy right away for people. But all right, you guys, good night. Moderators, thank you. And everybody, thank you for the gifts as always as well. You're very kind. All right. See you guys over on Discord.